Um, okay, yeah, we're on the air, and we are now live. People can watch the stream, and this will also be available in the archive for the session. Uh, so to begin with, while we're waiting to see if anyone else shows up, do you have
Rebecca's
any?
trying to log in now.
Okay.
She's talking to me in a different Hangout. So, is there a specific? Can I just copy the link at the top and send that to her?
Yes.
Okay.
Copy the link and send it to him, and that'll work.
Okay.
Trial and error has proved this.
All right. I just sent it to her.
Okay.
Hello. Rebecca.
Hi.
Hey, sorry, I didn't know that we were having a class.
It's okay. Good to good to see you. Did you not get the email about the session?
Uh, no, the last thing I had saw was on the message, and I did wasn't. I'm actually in the middle of D&Ding with some friends of mine, so
Oh.
I like I was looking at it and I was like, huh, funny now what's going on. Okay.
Well, I hate to take you away from D&D. That's a crime against writing for games.
I know.
Live role-playing sessions be can be some of the most amazing joint storytelling environments possible. I absolutely love a good live gaming session. I've also been in some that weren't quite so good. It depends on the people and the overall tone. And I've been in some that weren't that amazing in terms of the storytelling, but were still fun. Kind of more hack and slashy. So
This one's been really fun. I've been with them for about a year now. We've got I think a couple session ago. It's gotten really crazy. So we've like Mike's off the wall nut job right now, and everybody just doesn't know what to do with her. So it's great.
oh, I love those characters.
Yeah. We ended up breaking the session a couple times for our DM, and he's like, I don't know what to do next. So it's been an interesting to watch him put the story together and try and manipulate us into going where he wants us to.
Yeah. Some of the best games happen when the when things go off the rails.
Yeah.
So okay, well, we'll see if anyone else shows up. So let's open up with any questions people have, and
I sent you most of my questions. It was pretty much about, how to handle my scene with so much action. And then, of course, I was using Rebecca as a source as well. I don't know what to see
right.
on the screen. Okay. And she kind of explained the same concept that if there's action, then it's interpreted as gameplay, which is,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, okay, unless you're talking about a game that is created to be to exist only as a series of decisions, because there are games that exist as Twine games. In fact, that's the main thing Twine exists for. It's to create branching narratives like Choose Your Own Adventures. But in bigger budget commercial games where there's some sort of action mechanic, branching dialogue only exists for the conversations. If the player is doing something other than talking, the player wants to have control of what's happening.
Gotcha.
So, Becca, let me know if you need to get back to your session, or else they'll have to cancel. I'm glad to have you here, but
I had seen on the message board that it was supposed to be like the third Tuesday, so
Yeah,
I prepared for that and not seeing this.
yeah, I wound up having to reschedule. We will have another one next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
not this coming Tuesday?
Uh, what'd you say?
This coming Tuesday, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. This coming Tuesday, of this coming week.
Okay.
So, um, I'm just gonna, well, okay. Unless anyone else shows up with questions, I'm just gonna run through, Kia, if you have any more questions.
Pretty much, I just changed my scene. I chose the most non-action oriented scene in my script, i.e., they went to dinner. And that is my scene that I'm going with because you can have a million and one things to say over dinner
Right,
versus in the middle of the clan shooting up everybody. So I just want
right.
to do something with a little less action.
That's great, and that's also actually a great example right there. The kind of minor action that is perfectly okay in the midst of branching dialogue is things like eating dinner.
Right,
That's not a problem.
right. I
Uh,
figured that.
yeah. Similarly, you can have branching dialogue take place while characters are on some sort of transport going somewhere, but it shouldn't be a branching dialogue option to leave town and head to another state. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to prevent, because especially when you're talking to people who have not played games that have branching dialogue, which is a majority. Well, depends on the class. I would say it's somewhere around half of a given class will have little or no experience with branching dialogue in games. And, some of these kind of guidelines
Our
are
games are real narrative, to tell you the truth, because even when I was like playing on the Wii yesterday, the
right.
games that I tend to like are not the ones that have a large narrative base. So,
I get that. Some of the games that I enjoy playing don't have a whole lot of narrative to them either. Some are, but yeah, just the fact that you play games doesn't necessarily mean you play games that have a lot of story in them. Not all
right.
games do. Um, okay, so to Rebecca, to get back to you. So yes, we will have another session this coming Tuesday.
Okay.
If you want to get back to your D&D game, I will totally understand. We're just going to talk about Twine tonight, and I think you've basically got a handle on that. I'm going to do some demo stuff, and there will be a video archive
Okay.
of the sessions.
I'll catch the video archive
Okay,
for sure. Thank you so much, man.
you're very welcome.
You have a good one, guys.
Yeah, and we'll see. Keo, see if anyone else shows up. Um, if not, I'll run through some visual samples I have prepared, and see if you have anything else you want to ask me about. Branching or other game stuff. And if we get to the point we have nothing else to do, then we're done.
Okay, that's fine.
So, no need to drag this out just to fill up time. So, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and screen share. So that I can show you a couple of samples in Twine I've worked up. Screen's going to go all crazy here as it does a whole recursive thing.
Okay.
So here is what you generally see when you open up Twine. New paths are going to have a start, a story title, and a story author. First, because this happens. Go ahead, Kia.
I know, I'm listening.
Because this does happen every time. If you change the titles of any of these passages, instead of now your story being titled Adventures in Teaching, you now have a passage, a regular passage, you can tell by the blue header, that is titled Adventures in Teaching, and the body text is Untitled Story.
Okay.
And also, if you change even a simple capitalization, the start passage is something every Twine has to have a start passage to work. You do something as little as change that capital S to a lowercase s, and you get this. It's no longer a start passage, it's just a regular passage. And if I try to build this story into a Twine, it won't work because there's no place to start.
Okay.
Whoop. Yeah, and there it brings up the failed Twine. Now,
Let me see what I did with my twine. Twine.
Yeah. Always test your twine by building it. Do you use test play or build story? Build story will actually create an HTML file you can do whatever you want with.
I,
Test
I
play.
do that periodically to just make sure that everything is working.
Yeah.
Um, my concern with, okay, for instance, the one that I'm working on now, um,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote out all of the dialogue and how I want it to go. Um, how do you feel about one ending, or does it have to be two or three endings?
It can be one ending is fine.
Okay.
Um, right here, I've got a little bit more detailed twine I started building just to demonstrate a few things about the way twine can come together and be displayed visually. You know, I haven't titled this story, but a couple important things here. In my start passage, I just have links to A, B, and C. I've done them in the simplest way possible, which is to put the link in two sets of square brackets. This, however, is greatly limiting because if I have a link that says A with just that in the passage, I have to link to a passage named A. And if in this passage I want choices A, B, and C, I have to do something different. This is the way I recommend constructing all links in Twine. It can save you a lot of headaches later. You have two open square brackets, then the text you want displayed on screen as a link, then a vertical bar, and after the vertical bar, you want the name of the passage you're going to link to. Ooh, did someone else join us? Maybe background noise?
Oh, possibly. Oh, yeah, definitely. Possibly.
Okay. Um, so if you wanted to reuse the link A without being able to only link to the passage named A, this is how you would do it. I always construct all of my links in Twine this way. Now, the thing people sometimes, if they're not doing test playing their Twine, so okay, you would see this and it wouldn't be a problem for you, but because people sometimes don't test, if they think this is going to display this one on screen, they're mistaken.
Yeah, it's only going to show A.
It's only going to show A, yeah.
Anything before the slash is what the player sees. And then
Right.
anything after the slash is the actual next twine box.
Yep.
Okay.
So like A, and now here we have A, and it's actually this one. So if we click A, it links to this one. And we have more choices here because I didn't continue fleshing out the details of what's in the passages because I wanted to illustrate something about structure.
Okay.
We have here the beginnings of a diamond-shaped structure, roughly speaking. The thing that's important to note is that, you know, to get down to one ending, there are different ways to do it, but you have your first passage which opens up here with 3 links, and then I created each of the second 3 passages with 3 links. These passages all link to, this passage all links to 3 entirely new passages, and this passage links to 3 entirely new passages. Oh, sorry, I did made some crossover. This passage links to 2 new passages and to one of the options from this one, and then this one down here links to 2 new passages and one of these options up here. I started building it out from here, but what you can see, depending on the nature of the conversation, is that as opposed to kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, like the roots of a tree where it just keeps opening up and up and up as you go down to smaller and smaller branches, what you often are able to do is start having passages that link to more other passages. So we might, let's see, we got Bingley, maybe ooh, and odd with double O. So here we go. Nope. Also need to remember to put 2 square brackets before and after. A lot of the careless errors I see are things like a single bracket instead of two double brackets, or
So
occasionally the
you don't
wrong
have an
character
issue
in the
with,
middle.
with the answers linking back to earlier answers, or like where it links back.
Yeah, none of these are linking back. These are all linking forward.
Okay.
You can have links that go back.
Okay.
Also, if you want to go back, as you're, playing a Twine, if you use the back button in your browser, it's going to go back because it's part of the back arrow in your browser will work for going back to a previous choice. Now, in terms of the idea of linking forward and backward, there's a time in branching dialogue when you should link back and a time when you shouldn't.
Okay.
You should link back when the player is logically able to go back to where they came from. Like a branch point where the player can ask about several different things, and after asking, like...
So, like for instance, in my branching dialogue, I have like three different choices at the dinner. One conversation turns into like her father. One conversation literally turns into like food. Another one turns into drinks. But the
Right.
original things are like order what you want. Like one of the options is order what you want. So then like once I get through all of that, I
Right.
have it going back to order what you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So the fact that you can go back in the browser is essentially like, to put it in a certain sense, it's like cheating. It's the player choosing to go back in time and make a different decision.
Okay.
Having a link back means that the character in the story should logically be able to get back there.
Okay. Question.
Uh-huh.
Does the branching dialogue need to be written in first person, or can you tell it like a regular story?
You can write branching dialogue in first person, second, or third person.
Okay.
One of the most interesting things about games writing, and branching dialogue is one of the places you can do this, is you can actually use second person. You come to a door. Do you open it? That's old text adventure stuff. In this case, what do you say? But
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to write in third person, that's fine too.
Okay.
So you can write in first person. I say,
Mhm.
get away from me. In third person, Clarence says, and then you choose between three different things Clarence can say.
Mhm.
Or in second person, you tell the butler where you can stuff it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I didn't finish fleshing this out, but when I refer to kind of a diamond shape for twines, I'm talking about something that looks a little bit more like this, where perhaps these are your two ending passages. I'm not talking a really neat diamond shape.
Okay. The endings. For instance, can
Right.
one passage end in that three and then one continue on to the one, or does that only
Oh
constitute
yeah, absolutely.
does that constitute multiple endings?
That does.
Okay.
If right now, I have a whole lot of endings here. Every one of these passages is an ending, and so is this passage because it doesn't link out to anywhere, and this passage, and these passages down here.
Okay.
A passage that has no links out is an ending for our purposes.
Okay.
Sometimes twines that are created as games will have descriptions and little dead-end passages that don't link back, and the assumption is the player will hit the back button on their browser. But for our class, we want to keep this really clear and really clean, because in most games that use branching dialogue, there is no back button option. It depends on the game. There's this kind of thing that's true with more indie games, especially ones that call themselves interactive fiction, which includes games built in Twine. Interactive fictions are often about exploring a story rather than solving puzzles or reflexes or anything like that. Interactive fiction games often allow the player to undo their choices and try again just to see what happens. Most other games don't allow you to undo your decisions because that's where the consequences and the challenge of the game emerges from.
Okay.
So yeah, any passage that doesn't have any links going out is an ending. A passage that has no links going forward but does have one or more links going, you might say, backwards, like this passage here, now that it links back to the start passage, is no longer an ending. Twine, okay, actually this is relatively new. Until, about 4 months ago, the current version of Twine didn't do this, but the newer version of Twine colors all the passages for you in different colors that help you identify what they're for. Passages with this dark green kind of title or bar across the top serve meta purposes. They give information to Twine. In this case, what it should put in the story field.
Okay.
The start passage, and only the start passage, is this kind of brighter green. This, it's not quite lime green, but it's close.
Mm-hmm.
Other passages are either light blue or dark blue. Any passage that has a link out of it going somewhere else is light blue. Any passage that does not is dark blue. Every passage that is dark blue is an ending.
Okay.
And something that is always incorrect, any passage that has no links coming into it serves no purpose, and you will lose formatting points in your assignment if you have any of these. It's inaccessible. There's no way to get here, so it shouldn't be here. If you create passages and you don't want to use them, you can control click on them, or right click on them with a mouse and select delete to get rid of them. You can also go up here to the edit menu and delete the passage that way.
Do you care anything? There's a thing in there that says clean passages or clear passages or something like that. Do you care about that?
Oh, where is that one? Is that the one is that an auto arrange? Is that what that does?
Arranges, yep, it sure does.
Yeah, you do not need to do that. One of the strengths of Twine is you can come up with your own visual arrangement.
Okay.
If you want to use that to kind of get them all neatly lined up, that's fine. But actually, I find it more interesting to see the ways that people choose to arrange their passages. Okay. Some Twines actually make very deliberate use. Okay, I thought there were some examples here, but as a kind of game, some people who create Twines play with themselves and with people who will be looking at the source file. Sometimes the Twines themselves are designed in shapes, so the passages are laid out like. I saw one that was for kind of a maze, where while the layout of the passages itself wasn't the same as the maze in the game, it created a little maze you could actually kind of trace a line through, trying to avoid crossing these lines.
Okay.
So things like that. But yeah, you do not need neat organization, but what I strongly do not recommend, here, let's go ahead and get a new one for this, is just adding your passages and adding the links to them, one at a time, and paying no attention to it spatially. Mm-hmm. That makes it harder for me to see when I'm grading, but equally as important, if not more, it makes it hard to see what you're doing when you're creating. The virtue of Twine as a visual tool is that you can arrange things visually so that there's a fairly logical, relatively easy to follow structure. Back in the early days of this program, I had people create branching dialogue in Excel, and that's still something people who are going to game for their thesis have to do. They have to be able to translate their branching dialogue out of Twine and into Excel, because Excel files are easy for programmers to work with. The thing is, Excel is a lousy tool for thinking about the structure of your dialogue.
I can't even imagine doing branching dialogue in Excel. I guess because I've done it so much with equations for like math documents that the two just don't. But yeah.
Well, and back before there were more specialized tools like this, for all that it's not exactly the same, most of your advanced game development suites now have a branching dialogue editor that works kind of like Twine.
Okay.
But back in the day before that existed, and some professionals sometimes still do it this way, a big sheet of paper was one of the best ways.
That's how I did mine today. That's
Yeah.
exactly how I did mine today.
It's still a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember who it was I was talking to. He was talking about how branching dialogue was done for a classic game. And he said basically got a huge roll of butcher paper, and we'd unroll big sections of it. And someone else said that they used a board and sticky notes.
Yeah, it's easier to see it that way than.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes even easier than working in a tool like Twine, even though Twine is visual, to actually, because, here I am zoomed way out to 40%, and I can no longer see any of these tags.
Right.
If I had a large sheet of paper with sticky notes on it or paper that I was drawing on, then I could just, move my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Ending the screen share now, because I think we've covered everything we really need to actually in Twine.
Okay.
That's the tutorial section of this Hangout. Kia, did you have any other questions or anything else you wanted to talk about?
I have gotten all of my questions answered.
Okay. Well, since no one else has shown up, we're going to go ahead and end this early.
Well, good night. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for showing up.
All right. Bye.
It's much easier when I have someone to talk to. Bye.
I can imagine.